Hi everyone, so here we go with Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Volume 4. Finally, it's here. I know some of you have been waiting a really long time. So before I go into the prompt, although you might have watched Rachel's video and already seen it, I'm just going to show you a few things I picked up at the Sydney Quilt Show to go along with my project. So even though I'm not going to be using many fabrics, just little bits and pieces, I did pick up some French fabrics. I think most of these ones are French General. That one's probably not quite the right color, because I'll do a little bit of like blue like that one, but that's probably a bit too pale, those two. I'm going more with navy. That'll be too pale as well, but they're still pretty. I think they're French General fabrics, these ones. But all of them are perfect. I'll take this out so you can see it a bit better. So I was literally there just looking for fabrics that I can use some bits and pieces. So I've got the lovely old ones from Deb from Dollshouse Vintage, and then I'm going to throw in some new bits and pieces as well. So these are all sort of blues and reds, and sort of linen, which is my theme that I'm going with. So I've got this lovely one. This one. Now these I picked up. This one might be a bit too brown, but I picked this up from the Sewing Basket. They had a stall at the quilt show, and I got that I think for $2 for a fat quarter. Might be a bit dark. Now I got this one. This was for $2 from the Sewing Basket, and I really love it. Like, it's so cool. It's Australian because we've got, I think that's meant to be a kookaburra. And it says Lewis and Clark anniversary 1804 to 2004. I'm not sure what Lewis and Clark is. What is Lewis and Clark? I'm just reading. It's mode of fabric. It's called Lewis and Clark by Barbara Brackman and Terry Clothier. Thompson Corpse of Discover 1780 to 1820. I don't know, but it looks like it's kind of like, it's almost like First Fleet arriving. I should look up what this means. We've got Lewis there and Clark down the bottom. So anyway, I thought that was really cool fabric. That could be really fun to embroider bits and pieces. And it's blue, so it's got blue tones. I might put a piece in, I might not, we'll see. But for $2, bargain. Okay, I got these lovely ones. This is a Moda fabric. Love is like wind, you can't see it, but you can feel it. Okay, that must be the collection. Hard to read that running writing. So that's a good one. This one, I think, is this French General? Yes, this is French General. You can always tell by their selvage. They have that pattern. French General. Gorgeous. Anything with birds. I'll just show you. Should I turn it that way? Oops, sorry, bump the camera. That would be better. So that's a lovely one that will fit in with my color theme. Okay, this one is again a Moda fabric. So you open it out. Beautiful flowers. I love, am I on camera? That bunch there. I'm not going to have big pieces though. This one is Moda fabric. Life is better on the bay. Okay, so just finding bits and pieces in the right color waves that I was going for, and I've obviously picked up lots of florals because I like florals. Now this company makes really lovely fabrics. I don't have the name of them, but they're all French. That's upside down. They're all French inspired, so that's perfect. And then this one as well. I would have preferred this if it had a bit of navy blue, but anyway, that's lovely French style fabric too. Okay, so they are my new bits of fabric, of which I will use very tiny amounts. I may not even use all of them, but I've got lots of options. I'm going to put them to the side. Now, people have been asking what dimension for the base. Well, I can't answer that because it really depends on what you're going to do. I do not know what my dimension will be. It is going to evolve. So I have this old French linen tea towel. It's actually got some stains on it, which I'm not even going to wash it. That doesn't bother me. And it's huge. I will not be doing it this big. It's huge. But what I would like to do is maybe half of it, so it's the width of a tea towel and not quite as long. Okay, so I'm literally going to work on this. I'm not going to cover it all up because I want to see a lot of the background. I certainly want to see the red stripes on the side. You can see that one on camera, but so I can't exactly tell you dimensions because mine will just evolve. So I'm using a big piece so that it can get as big as I want. This was another linen tea towel, red and white, kind of French style, but it's not, I don't think it's French. I don't think it's old. Okay, another one I could have considered using, but I'm going for that one. I like that one. Or another option would be, is this hemp, Rach? You gave me this. Is it hemp when it's like a thick weave? You could just get a big bit of hemp or linen. Okay, I think that's hemp, but I don't know. I'm not an expert. So the dimension is going to be up to you. Okay, I'm going to show you this. I have shown this on camera before. This is my old Jessie Corley. I did this quite a while ago, where with Jessie you got a pack, and Rach gave me this pack. So you got, I think it was 5 or 6 blocks. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 blocks that you embroidered, and it was called a friendship quilt where you could do it the way you wanted. So that does go down. I actually think I need to stitch that down because it flips up. And so this was an old embroidery. I've done the letters stitch there, put in some old fabric. Rach did that, so that was a treasure from Rach. And then I put bits of old fabric and I embellished, made mushrooms, did lots of stitching, put a bunny on there with a little button tail, reverse side of some old Suffolk puffs, etc. And bit of embroidery here, there and everywhere, little bits and pieces, and turned this into my Jessie Chorley, and then did some different things down the side and different fabrics. So if you look on the back, I've got some random bits of fabric that run down the side. So something about that size would be good. It may not get as big as that. That's actually quite big, but we'll see. Where I'm just going to work on it as I go and work out my dimensions once I'm done. Love the buttons. So things like that. So that's just to give you an idea. So if you've watched Rachel's video, you know that our first prompt is monogram. So monograms are beautiful. In fact, I'm going to pause you for a sec. I'm going to get my phone. I have put a bunch of monograms into the Pinterest board today to give you some ideas. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So I'm just focusing. Okay, so if you go to my Instagram, I think it comes up as just, if you put Sarah Roxburgh, it should come up, or Roxy Creations by Sarah. And then I will try and link the board again. Some people were saying that they couldn't get to the board last time. I can only take the link off my phone, but it's RJOS Vol 4, little semicolon treasure hunt mood board. So myself, Rach and Mum are all on that. And today what I've done is I've added in some images of monograms. Okay, so that's a fairly simple one. That would be straightforward to do. That's a fairly traditional one. Simple, but pretty. Okay, if you want to go really fancy, you could try and stitch that in your colours. So I tried to give some fancy, like that's beautiful. I'd love to do that, but it would take a long time to embroider. Let's turn my brightness up a bit better. So you can find templates. So I was thinking of going with something like that one, like I could do S or R. I was thinking of R for Roxy, me and Rach, because it's our general stitchery. So I thought I might do R. Rach will do R because she's Rachel Roxburgh. I could do SR or just S, but I like R. It's a nicer letter, I think, than S. So I put some different ones on here. Oh, that's a pretty S though, in saying that. That's a nice one. Some ideas. Now, if this kind of embroidery is too much for you, you can make it really simple if you're a cross stitcher. I love the cross stitch ones. Almost tone on tone. Not quite because it's a linen base, but it's white on, there's tone on tone. They look amazing. I love those cross stitch ones. So if you are a cross stitcher, okay, if it's too hard for you and you have your French laundry labels, you might have your initials. I know I definitely have SR, and I think I have RR and I have RC, Roxy Creations. I got RR to think that I'd give it to Rach, but I think she's got RR. If you don't, Rach, I think I sent you some, or gave you some, but I can give you more. And then I got SR. Sometimes it takes a while to find your initials, but eventually I've found them. You could also get a pre-existing one. These are examples of French linens, and I know I've definitely got some monogrammed letters on old tea towels and things like that. Beautiful. Oh, look at that. Doing your whole treasure hunt in red and white would be beautiful. Mum, that'd be up your alley. I know you'd love that. That'd be cross stitch. That's a really simple cross stitch one. And you can find these patterns. Just go to Pinterest and search for them. You'll find patterns for free. And oh, that one's beautiful. And some old ones. There's lots of samples of monograms. So you don't have to do both letters. You can do one letter, and that's it for my monograms. You can do both your letters. You can do someone else's letter if you don't like your letter, or maybe you're thinking of gifting your piece to someone. It's up to you. So I've downloaded a few templates of R's that I liked, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off the camera for a minute. I'm going to jump onto my computer, and I'll come back when I've got my computer on, and I'll show you how it's really easy to use your computer as a light box, and then you'll be able to trace it. So I'll be back in a sec. All right, so this is me using my computer as a light box. Can you hear that? That's a cocky. It's on the roof of the church next door. They come along. They're very squawky. There we go. Okay. So this is me using my computer as a light box. Firstly, what I do is I turn the brightness right up, and I just have myself some vellum because it's nice and see-through. You could also use tracing paper or even photocopier papers, thin enough. I did grab a piece of paper out of a sketchbook, but you could do it, but you can see it's harder to see through it. So copy paper should be okay, vellum is perfect, etc. So what I've got here is I've got an image behind the vellum of an R monogram. These are some other monograms here, they're just images underneath. And all you do is I've just washi taped the vellum down on the screen. I've resized my image to what I want. So with Apple, you just move your fingers in and out on the image to make it bigger and smaller. And now all I'm doing with pencil is I can just go ahead and I can trace the monogram. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Okay, so I can decide if this is the one that I want to use. I've got a few different options. A lot of these are old embroidery, like monogram patterns. I do like this one. The only thing I'd be worried about is how thin these lines here are, because they'll be difficult to embroider. Like, you could do it. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm going to show you another one I prepared in a minute. I'll just finish this one. So I'm just with a pencil. Don't press too hard. You don't want to break your screen. Just lightly sketching over it. Oops, going to be a bit wonky there. It doesn't matter. So this design you can find in any letter on Pinterest. I saw pretty much all of them. I'm just going to, sorry, bumped you. Just going to lift the top. And I've turned off the light on the desk. Did I get it all? Yeah, I did. Okay, so let me just show you. Okay, the light's off on purpose just because then I could see my screen better. So this is another one I did. I played around with this one because, I'll just show you on my screen. I liked this one, but I didn't like the R so much. I liked a more fancy R. So I actually enlarged this and copied that R there, and then I put some acorns on it. And I like this acorn and that acorn. I put one there, but I don't like it. So, sorry, this acorn, that acorn, but I put one there and didn't like it, so I'll probably scribble that out. I think I'll go with that one. It's a bit different. I've played around with it, made it a little bit in my style. There's the light again. So now I've got my little illustration ready to go. Although I do like that one too. All right, I'm going to have a think. I'm going to get everything prepared and I'll be back soon. All right, so I'm kind of filming with all the lights off here because I want to show you the method I'm using to transfer my design. So, hang on, this has moved a bit. As much as I tried to tape it down, it's come untaped. Okay, so I'm using my computer as my light box because I would normally use a window, but it's too dark outside now. So I can see my design through with my computer as the light behind. Okay, I'm not sure if you can quite see that, but easier if you did this on the window. So you did your design on paper and then you taped it down to a window and you trace it onto your fabric. So I was looking for my carbon paper to trace my design on that way, but I can't find where it is. I've only got one sheet of it, so I'm not surprised that I can't find it. All right, so I'm literally, I can only just see it, but it's enough. I'm literally just tracing it on with a pencil, and then what I'll do is I will take away the fabric from the computer, and then I'll touch up anything that I need to. So I'm just getting my shapes. Okay, I know there's a leaf there. I can't see it perfectly because my linen's a bit thick. If you had a thinner fabric, you'd be able to do this easier. Once I feel like I've got most of it, I'll turn my light on, you'll be able to see what I've done. Okay, I think I've got, oh, did I get that acorn? I don't know. I'm going to turn my light on. Let's go. Oh, there we go. Got most of it. And this one. And it's going to be enough. Okay, so I'll just show you what I did underneath. I went over my design in black pen. I taped it, put a white background, just a blank document. And then I taped it down. So that will work. Crazy method. I should have done it in the daytime when I could use my window. Now what I can do is I will just touch up my design. I can do it, might do it in my friction pen just so I can see it a bit better. Okay. So we have a stem coming down here. It's hard because the linen moves. get this one. Now what I'm going to do when I embroider, I'm going to do my leaves and acorns first, because if I was to embroider my letters, it would be too thick to go over them with the extra embroidery. Okay, now this one, I'm going to move my acorn a little bit. I did it. It's okay, but I don't want it to overlap my leaf. It's one acorn. And here are my other two, my little baby one. And then my bigger one. Okay, and then just fix up my letter. All right, I kind of like this because I've taken my ideas from two different designs that already existed, and I've kind of blended them together to make my monogram the way I liked it. So a little bit of me coming in there. And this is the friction pen, the one that can come off when you apply heat to it. But it will be covered, so you won't actually see it. I think the hardest thing now, the monogram's going to come up through there. The hardest thing now is deciding what colours I'm going to do. Okay, there's my R. All right, what I could do to decide my colours is just play around with my original. So I'm almost feeling like I do need to do, I'm going to come back with some pens. Hang on, pens. All right, got my ink tints. So I'm thinking my R is going to be navy blue. So let's have a look at what that will look like. It's quite good doing this too, because then you can kind of see what your design will look like before you actually start stitching it. And there are some tips that are important when you're sewing a monogram to get that nice padded look. So we're using very simple stitches today. I'm going to be using running stitch to begin with. I'm going to be using some couching to couch some thread underneath where my letter will be, and then over the top is satin stitch. So 3 simple stitches, which I'll show you because we do have new people on here. Welcome everybody who's new, who hasn't done one of our projects yet. I know there's a few people saying they haven't done a Roxy's Journal of Stitchery yet. I'll explain the basics. Okay, so the R is going to be navy. I could do tones of blue for everything. Just thinking if I want to incorporate red. I mean, I could do my acorn caps red, bright red. I'm going to have missed a bit. Which one did I use? This one. bit there. And then I could do a lighter, sort of almost peachy red, dark peachy red. So I could do different tones of red. And then I'm thinking, do I have a pencil in that colour? Maybe a bit of a burgundy. It's gone a bit darker, but maybe that'll be like a burgundy red, like a dark red. The leaves, like they're autumn, like a burgundy colour. And the stems. All right, I think that will do me. Okay, so I will go and gather some threads and then I will come back. I'll see you soon. Okay, I'm back. So got my design and I've put it in a hoop because I feel like for a monogram I'd need to have my linen nice and tight. So I'm just pulling it around the edge to make it like drum tight. Okay, it's going to be easier for me to embroider because this is going to be, I'm going to eventually cut out around this in a circle and I'll be attaching it to my base. Okay, so I'm not stitching straight onto my base here. Okay, so I've got this big mess. I don't know where I got this. Did I get this from URH? Maybe. This is like a perlé thread. And if I can find the end, this is what I think I'll use for my R, but I don't need to do my R yet. So I think these colours will work well for the acorns. I'm just thinking just those two colours. That's too peachy. Ooh. I could do the cap and the leaves in the same kind of burgundy. I might do that. All right, so I'm going to start with my acorn cap. I think I said running stitch. I'm actually going to do a back stitch. So back stitch, you just come ahead, do a stitch, come out about similar distance ahead, and then, as the term describes, you go back into that hole, so you go back. Okay. So I am outlining my acorns with back stitch. In fact, everything that I'm doing in my monogram is going to be outlined with back stitch because it will end up giving you a really neat edge to satin stitch over. And the way that you pad it up, which I'll show you in a sec, is you just couch down some of the same color thread to fill in the space underneath, and then it kind of bulks up the satin stitch, pads it. Okay, I don't normally use a hoop, but I think with monograms, to keep it neat, a hoop is going to be helpful. All right, I'll pop off the camera, I'll back stitch all my acorns, and then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to fill in the middle with couching. Okay, I'll be back soon. All right, so firstly, I've done back stitch in the burgundy on the leaves and the acorn caps, and then the actual acorns, the brighter red. I don't know if you can see that well. And then I've gone around the R just with the back stitch with the navy blue thread. So I'm actually going to satin stitch it with a stranded cotton. I was going to do the other one I showed you, but this one is a little bit darker and I like the colour. But I am going to fill it in with that other cotton. It's a little bit lighter. I'm not sure if you can see the difference. So all I've done is I've got 4 strands to begin with, and I've just going to couch these down in between the blue running stitches, which is where I will satin stitch over the top. So same thread, couching down for people that are new. Oh, it's a bit hard because my thumb can't quite reach. Couching down for people that are new is where you basically have a thread, this one, which you stitch just a straight stitch over the top of some other fibers. So I've got my 4 fibers there. It's a bit awkward, I'll show you in a sec. But you basically stitch over the top of the other fibers to hold them in place. So I've got the ends here, it's a bit clunky. I can trim these off. I'm just going to have them a bit longer. Okay, so I'm going to couch down a little bit and then I'll trim it off so it fits inside the shape. And as the shape gets thicker, I'll have to add in some more fibers. So already, just as I'm getting to this curve, so I'm going to couch them down. I'm going to need to add some more fibers because I want to fill in the piece to so they'll fit underneath. And what it does is it makes your, so I'm just going to cut the approximate length. It's got a little bit longer. And now I've got my end again and I can add in more fibers as I need to. So as you do your satin stitch, which I'm going to show you in a minute, it'll be padded and lifted up because these fibers will be underneath. The fibers underneath, I would keep them the same or a similar color to what you are using for your satin stitch so that you won't be able to see them if there's any tiny gaps. So how far apart you do your stitches is up to you. I'm just kind of keeping them apart to keep it curving around the natural shape of the R, if that makes sense. So trim off the little tails if you need to. And I'll just keep putting stitches in to keep those fibers following the curve. Okay, so I'm actually working with 8 strands now, not 4, I doubled it. My stitches are about, at the moment, about 1/4 of an inch apart. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill in this bottom part of the R because then I want to show you how to satin stitch it down, and then the rest I'll do off camera and I'll show you next week. At least if I do this now you get the idea. And this is something that Mum's really good at, monograms. She's done them. She did one for me with an S on a piece she did for my birthday one year. Where she's definitely done these lots before. I haven't done them that many times, only a few times maybe. And we're coming up to the red. Just going to trim that and that will fit into there. Little stitch on the end to hold it in place. Okay, that's well enough filled. It doesn't matter if you got little gaps. There's a couple of little ones on the edges there. That's okay, it'll still work. Oops. All right, now I'm going to show you how to satin stitch. So put that to the side because I'll need to do more of that. I've threaded up, I'm using the full 6 strands. Just start a little bit in. So you go from one side straight across to the next. And you want to come over those other threads I just put in, the ones I couched in place. So I just started a little bit away from the tip. Now I'm going to work towards the tip. Using such a dark thread, it can be hard to see if it's neat. I might get just one more little stitch on the end there, and then I'm going to work back in the other direction. So I'm always going from the same side. So for this I'm going left to right, left to right, left to right. You could go left to right, then right to left and try and save some thread. But I think if you go the same direction, whilst it does waste a bit more thread, it's going to be neater. Okay, so I've got to try and get my needle right next to the other stitch to keep it neat. And then I'll start working my way along. Okay, trying to keep it neat next to the other one. So by having that running, so that back stitch to make your shape and then filling it in with the couching, you'll see that your monogram is lifted up a bit. It's dimensional rather than being just flat. I mean, if it was too hard, you could actually leave it like that. I think that actually looks quite good. But I definitely want to do a proper monogram. So even though it is going to take a little while to stitch, you'd be surprised at how it's quite an easy thing to do. To monogram, it takes a while, but it's easy to make it look good. All right, what I'll do is I'm going to stitch the rest of this off camera and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. All right, I'll be back soon. Okay, so I've done my first little bit. So it's actually, can you see it's quite raised? All right, so I will continue to work on all of this, the rest of the yarn and then the acorns and the leaves. And I will come back and show you it completed next week and show you what I'm going to do to attach it to my background. So that is my first treasure, is my monogram of R for Roxy. All right, so looking forward to seeing everyone's different monograms. I'd love to see some cross stitch ones as well. I'm even thinking of doing a little bit of cross stitch myself. Might do that later. It might work in with another prompt. Okay, so thank you for watching the first prompt of Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Volume 4, and we will see you next week where we finish our monograms. Okay, see you soon. Bye.